In?
Yes.
All right, letting people in. Hey guys, getting started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Joe Welch hitting you from just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I am this guy, at least to me. I don't know where you are. You are there. I'm the tech fairy today. I'm here to help you out. If people are confused, if you need any help, like I can't open my video, exactly the reason why I'm here. Let's make sure we take care of those tech issues now. So will you check your settings to see? Oh, are we keeping people off video? All right, then what's going on is that there is no open video, only for our speakers. So we are here, and the only people you're going to see are your speakers. But if you are in the room, say hi in the chat. That chat is open for you. I hope everybody's doing great. With your cameras off, that means you can, sip something nice, maybe with some marshmallows or a little whipped cream. You can, put your feet up. And we are going to have an amazing event for you today. Ooh, look at these amazing faces that are showing up. Miss Ariel, how are you? There are kisses coming from everywhere. We're seeing some hellos in the chat. If anybody has any tech questions, my job today is as your tech fairy. And I guess overall problem solver. I would say you should probably bring those to me. I'll take care of that. We'll figure it out. I see some Mass in the house. Woo! Maine. Yeah, tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're coming in from. We've got 30 people here. Feel free to share the link. Hello, Miss Melia. I'm Joe Welch. I'm not sure if we've met before, but hi. We have amazing people joining us from all over. You are correct. You cannot open your video right now. You should be able to see us, see the speakers. You're welcome to put into the chat that you're here, where you're from. And I'm just checking in. It looks like our almost all of our speakers are in the house, which is it's so exciting to be here. Jim, you put together the best events. Woo, it's filling up. We're at 33. Come on, guys, we can get this room packed. This is the best way to be in a packed house, right? No COVID, no masks. We can stuff this place full. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, and people from all over. Woot, woot. I should have put some music on. Jim, next time we need to have some music playing.
Joe Welch, in my mind, there's music playing every time you speak.
Is that the case? Well, aren't you sweet? Let's see. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. In the chat, let us know that you're here. Let us know that you are where you're coming from. We have an amazing lineup tonight, and it's just going to continue to unfold. I am Joe Welch. I'm here in Massachusetts, and I am your tech fairy. I will be helping out with muting and unmuting for our speakers if need be. We're going to make sure that everyone's nice and taken care of. If you have any issues, certainly let me know. Let's see if I can I don't know if you guys can hear music, but we'll try it. I thought this was the funniest choice. Let's see. No? No. That's not going to happen. All right. It is 8:05. It is 8:05. And so I think I'm going to look over at Jim Tanner and say,
Yes.
is it time to rock and roll?
It's time.
It's time. Well, I'm going to bring you into the spotlight then. We are going to get started. So I hope everybody has their notebooks ready. They're sitting, they're comfortable, and ready to go.
Joe Welch, thank you so much. I can't tell this audience of associates and entrepreneurs with enough enthusiasm just how dependent on you we are to make these things move smoothly. See, I can't even say it. And I appreciate you kicking us off this evening. It's my absolute pleasure, before we officially get started, to set the right tone and balance for our training this evening. So allow me to take it from my basement, where I am in my office, all the way up to the top of the house here in Framingham, Massachusetts, to my wife, Dr. Danielle Rousseau, who's going to get us kicked off this evening. Dr. Rousseau?
Thank you. Thank you. Ready? Olive would like to do our introduction here tonight. Ready?
Hello, my name is Olive Russo, and we live on Nipmunk land, and together we live on Turtle Island. And here's one fact about the Native Americans. They use sticks and stones to build their house, and leaves and flowers to protect them from the rain.
Olive, thank you so much for that beautiful land acknowledgement. And I'm going to add in the chat now a link where you can look up your land, the territory that you are living on. If you don't know the history, I definitely recommend you put your location in and you find out what the history of that land is. And then once I put that, feel free to share the territory that you live on as well, wherever you're from. Thanks. And I will send it back to you, Jim.
Thank you both. Thank you, Olive. Thank you, Dr. Rousseau. It is my absolute honor to be here and serve as your host this evening. I'm going to step out of the way immediately. But before I do, I want to acknowledge that you're going to see me again in about an hour. Our speakers, our contributors this evening will be introducing each other to allow for a smooth transition between the segments. So I'm going to start us off this evening by introducing a mentor of mine. The Melia family are legends of Legalshield. Now, many people might say legend. Seems like a motto or a bumper sticker. But when you meet the Melia family, when you meet the people they've impacted, the lives that they've touched over the last many years in Legalshield, the people who they have helped to have financial success and meaning in their lives, you will understand why it's so appropriate that they are designated as legends. It is my absolute pleasure to turn it over to get us started this evening to $800,000 ring earner, millionaire club member, Miss Kim Melia. Ms. Melia.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate you. I appreciate your wife and your so adorable daughter. Oh my gosh. And I want to know all about the land I'm living in. I live in Mexico right now, but it's just an honor and pleasure to be here this evening with you just for a few moments, and for Jim to be able to ask, for me to tell a little bit about my story. And I'm in my car. I'm in my 6th Zoom today. I'm at my 2nd Christmas party, and I'm heading to Vegas tomorrow. I know you guys don't feel sorry for me, right? But tis the season, right? So I'm in my car. I just left the Christmas party. We're doing an exchange. I said, please don't do it until I get back. And, this is important to me. This is what's important to me, is for me to be able to reach out to one person, one lady, one gentleman, one somebody who might hear something that I said that can change their business, change their mindset, change their lifestyle, their legacy, like mine has been changed. And so I'll just, begin by saying I was one of those grumpy 25-year-olds that hated her job, and that's why I joined Legalshield. But let me just start before that. I don't come from the best beginnings, but I don't think they're the worst. They're probably humbling. My mother was a mother of 3 by the time she was 21, married an abusive husband, which was my dad. And I left when I was 3 years old. Thank goodness. I was brave enough to leave. And so from that point on, about a year later, I met who I call my real dad. And thank goodness, because he was so positive and an impact to my life. And then fast forward, the reason why I tell you that is because I think sometimes when they hear how much money you make and where you're from and, you know, the lifestyle that you have, that you just had a silver spoon in your mouth, and that wasn't it. I've been on welfare. I've had food. I've had to go get food stamps. I've even lived on the streets for a little bit, but that was my choice. I was a rebel, a teenager. I'm a rebel with the cause now, with Legalshield, with my mission. But really, then I got into corporate, and then I got into a little bit of modeling, which the modeling didn't really help my self-esteem, but what it did, it helped me understand entrepreneurship. It helped me understand that I can make a lot more money, you know, different ways, not having that traditional corporate job, which is what I was going for, because I didn't have any education. I was the first one to graduate from high school in my family. Thank goodness there's more of them, right? But really, honestly, you know, since I got involved in Legalshield, it wasn't easy. There's ups and downs in anything, and I say that because it wasn't easy from the beginning. Because as soon as I heard about Legalshield, it was existing in the United States for over 20 years, and it wasn't open up in Canada. We were one of the first people to open up in Ontario, which was really cool, which is where I'm, you know, not originally from, but where I lived for a long period of time. And I was super excited about it, but we had to wait 9 months for it to open. So imagine, you know, going out there marketing anything for 9 months and telling people you don't know when it's going to come. You don't know how much you're going to get paid. You don't know anything. But I believed in the mission. Equal justice under law is not a reality in this world or in North America today. And I wanted to put my stamp on that. And I wanted to be part of that mission more than anything. And I wanted to be part of something that I could put my head down at night and say, you know what? I feel good about what I did today. I know I impacted somebody's life in a different way, maybe through legal services, maybe becoming an entrepreneur. I don't know what it was, but I loved it. And I made $5,500 my very first full-time month. 9 months, I made executive director, which was really the first day that we opened up in Canada. And it hasn't been all that smooth. There's been ups and downs since then. Of course there is, in my life and in my personal life and my business life and all that. But I can tell you right now, one thing that I am is consistent, and I am persistent. Right. And that's all I could be here. Honestly, like, I mean, I know I have more to offer. Trust me, I know I have talents and skills, but at the beginning, I really didn't believe I did. But what I did was I was a fighter, and I was a survivor, and I will be persistent. And you tell me to do a 2 a day, fine. I'll do 2, and I'll probably do 4, but I won't tell you, but I'll do my 2, and I'll follow up, and I'll do what you say. If you tell me, if Rob McKenzie told me to jump off a building, I probably would have at that time, because if he said it would have made me successful, I might have done something stupid, right? But I followed the leader until I became that leader. And I still follow other leaders because I know that I can still become better, right? And so I think the biggest thing for me, again, is what I've learned through this journey is to be consistent and persistent, and that pays off, to have a great attitude, to constantly work on yourself. And the biggest thing is to come from compassion. And I believe if you knew somebody's story, then you would love them no matter what they did to somebody else. And I'm not saying there's things that are right or wrong. I'm just saying, if you knew somebody's story, and we always hear, if you walked in their shoes a mile, then you would understand them. I'm telling you, if you really listen to people's story, you would love every human being. And so more and more, I come from that. I come from more compassion, and I come from my heart. I come from unconditional love. I love our team. I love your team. I love Legalshield. But most of all, I love helping people realize that there's more out there in life. There's more choices. If they want to move to Mexico and they had a goal like me 20 years ago to live wherever I want, be with whoever I want, do what I want, make what I want, and all these types of things, it can happen for me. It can happen for you. And that's what I teach, and that's what I coach on. And that's what I teach or coach. That's just who I am. And I just go out there and live my life. And if I can do that and be an inspiration to other people, it's magical, and it really is a responsibility. And that would be my next thing I'll say. I never knew that this journey would take me into such a wonderful experience. We were able to open up our own nonprofit called Work, Play, Love. Some of you know about it. As a matter of fact, Mr. Jim Tanner is one of our Super Bowl captains. I'm going to be introducing a next one in a minute as we have a big fundraiser coming up. But I never knew that my purpose and passion would be with orphans in Guatemala, and now in Mexico, and God knows where else it may be. And it's all because of this Legalshield opportunity has given me the opportunity, time freedom, not just financial freedom, because the financial freedom gives you the time freedom to do the purpose and the passion, the things that you're passionate about. And so I'm so excited to say I've been involved with this two orphanage for over 10 years. The girls' orphanage opened up over 7 years ago. I am spending Christmas 5 days with the kids with my mother, my father, and my fiance. There's nothing more that I would love to do that. And it's because I believed in Legalshield. It's because I did the activities. It's because I was consistent, and it's because I followed a leader. And I also had a vision. I had a goal and I had a vision, and I was going to fight for it. And I continue to. Like I said, I'm a rebel, but now I'm a rebel with a cause. So let me introduce you to somebody who I am super proud of. She drew the line in the sand many years ago, but I believe in the last 2 years, she has blossomed into just an amazing leader, an amazing woman. I know she always has. A great friend of mine, never mind that she's a teammate of mine, but she's made $100,000. She's made, well, first of all, she used to work for corporate, and she'll give you her background. And she comes from humble beginnings as well. And she did this in a short period of time. She set her goals out there, and she went and she got those goals, and she leads up the Ontario marketplace, plus many other marketplaces in Canada. She is just a really dear friend, really, really humble. And I just love you to death. So let's next go to Miss Anita Sarda.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I so honored our friendship. And, that's really what this business is about, is meeting people. I don't know how we would have ever met any other way, but I thank you for your mentorship, coaching, and just teaching me how much to give back to others. So thank you for all you do. Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Anita. I'm out of Canada, and my background, I'm an immigrant family. I mean, my dad came and studied in the States. He always claims he's American. He's a Boston guy, but we live in Canada. I was born and raised here, and in a small town where there were like 200 Indian families in the entire city. And we really were raised as, you need to just focus on your own success, go to school, get really educated, have a good solid job. And I did all that. I did well in school. I also did all the, I have a Christmas tree downstairs. We have a Christmas tree. I do all the stuff that's part of my culture. I also went to school, and I did all the extracurricular, and I was an overachiever. And so, I got my couple of degrees, and I got recruited into an amazing corporate company called IBM. I loved it. I really did. I traveled around the world. I did a whole bunch of amazing things. And I got married, and I had a couple of kids, and all of a sudden travel didn't sound so much fun when you're away from your kids, because I actually liked them. And from the outside, you would think that my life was perfect. I had this great job. My career was going. I had a husband. I ended up with a boy and a girl. My kids are amazing. And I'm on this path. And my marriage is awful. It really is awful. It's abusive, and I need to get out. I don't know what to do. And I no longer am also liking my career very much. I very much hit a ceiling cap, and not because I'm a woman, and not because I'm brown, none of those things, but I was now in a world where I really wasn't making the amount of money that I felt that I should be making for the amount of work that I was doing. And for all those reasons, I just didn't know a way out. I mean, I didn't really have any other skills to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't going to open a bakery. I couldn't be a photographer. None of those things. I definitely wasn't going back to school. I'll tell you that. It was enough that I got my degrees. I honestly didn't know what to do. And I was going through a divorce because I finally had the courage to leave. And it was a 3-year battle. And somehow the universe sent a car past me on a highway that had Legalshield logo on it. And I chased it down the highway, and I called them. And I learned about the service. Now, why do I share that part of the story? Because no one put me on their list. So please don't prejudge. From the outside, it might look like that I had this amazing life, that I was making this great income, that everything looked perfect. The white picket fence and 2.5 kids. I was just missing the dog, which I now have, right? That was what I was missing. But the reality is that my life was really awful, and no one knew it. I kept it a secret. And no one, I think, put me on their list. No one thought I might need the services, and no one thought I might need this opportunity.
So the universe helped me. I learned about it. I joined the Amelia family. I'm so grateful for that, because as you heard from Ms. Camelia, I ended up with coaches and mentors, but more importantly, I joined the Legalshield mission. And I joined the mission to help other people. I saw this service, it made sense. And when I got started, I had no time. I'm in a 3-year court battle already. I'm working insane. I'm trying to raise 2 kids under 10. So I don't know if anybody wants my life, but no one did. I tried bartering it off. No one wanted it. And so I had very little time to do this business. I had about 5 hours a week. But guess what? That 5 hours a week started to pay me about $300 a month. And it was a godsend. Why? Sometimes, you're thinking, oh, well, people are looking for millions of dollars. Okay, now I am. But at the time, $300 was everything. It really meant that I could get my manicure again. It meant that my cleaning lady, I could have one come once a month for a few hours to scrub my house. We could go out for dinner. The kids and I could go out for dinner. So never underestimate the power of $300 to $500 a month. So this went on for years. I was just making a few $100s extra. They had a bonus program. So I ended up having a BMW. Wow. Went on a few paid vacations because there's no way I could afford it to take my kids to Bahamas and other places. This company just gave me the ability to reestablish a life, have the time freedom to be the mom I wanted to be, to deal with my crap life that was happening, and be around really amazing, supportive people, positive people. So as much as, I saw all these people making really great money, I got more out of just being in this positive environment, being around people who wanted my success, who wanted to help me. It was amazing. And eventually I ended up going full time and now being able to make the same kind of income I made in my corporate. But the crazy thing is I don't have a limit. No one is telling me that because I'm a woman or because I'm brown or whatever, I'm an immigrant family or whatever, that I can't make whatever income I so desire. All that means is helping more people. So a couple of the nuggets out of this is, please, I'm asking, as you learn about Legalshield, and if you're a guest on the line or if you are an associate, please don't prejudge people, because you never know who might need to know about the service or who's looking for an opportunity. Get them into this amazing environment. For you, I'll tell you, if you're ever having a down day, if things are really bad, jump on a call. My number one piece of advice: when you don't want to be on a call, be on a call. And when you really want to be on a call, be on a call, because someone else needs your energy. I fed off of people's positivity and it changed my life. And I thank everybody, every call, every convention, everything that did that. And I've learned to just change my life, my attitude and everything. And so I want to throw it out to an amazing woman that I have recently come to know so well. In this, again, I would have never met her under any other circumstance, but she has a scientific background. I think my dad would have adopted her. She's a chemist by background, probably would have preferred than what I did. But she is absolutely an outstanding young woman who has blossomed over the last many years, who has taught me so much. And that's the beauty of Legalshield. You can have mentors that have been around for a long time and older than you, and then you have mentors who are younger than you, and they teach you and feed into you with no financial gain, and they become your sister. Ariel Simone, I adore you. You know that. And I thank you so much for all you do for the marketplace and for my life. So over to you.
Oh, sis, thank you so much. Everybody, Miss Anita Sarda, just such an inspiration, somebody who has poured into me from the very beginning. I'm so excited to be here, family. Hi. I want to say thank you to, of course, Mr. Jim Tanner and Dr. Rousseau for having me tonight. This is so phenomenal. I know that this is exactly what we need. On a daily basis, we need to be poured into. We need to have masterminds. And family, if you're taking notes, I say note takers are history makers. And yes, we're sharing our stories tonight, but there may be something that dawns on you and you're like, wow, I never looked at it like that. Jot it down, because that's where breakthrough comes. And a mastermind is crucial. It's so essential. So I'm grateful to be a part, but I'm Ariel Simone family. I am originally from Queens, New York, born and raised. And I'm going to share my story with you all just so that we recognize, yes, a young pro can come into Legalshield, right? And absolutely change the trajectory of her legacy, which I'm so excited about. So I am raised by, or I was raised, still raised. My mother is still raising me, even though I'm an adult, but I am one of three. My mother is a single mother, Queens, New York, like I said. I am the youngest. And believe it or not, I'm second generation to this industry. And so I share that because this industry saved our lives. Like, it absolutely changed the way that I showed up in the world. And my sisters as well. You know, my mother, her background is in insurance, and I only knew business. I only knew business ownership. I was the child that had a mom. And I'm going to explain that because I know that some of you all have those goals where you're like, you know, I want to be there for my children. Well, family, that was my mom. Like, if I left something at home, she wasn't pissed because she can easily leave her office and she can go back to the house and she could bring me my notebook. She could bring me my lunch, right? She was that mom that was the chaperone. She was out skating all of the children. And I remember those joyous moments in life where she wrote her own schedule. Like, I remember there was, and this happened a lot of times, but there was one time in particular that she woke me and my sisters up in the middle of the night on a Thursday evening, going into a Friday. And she said, hey, do you girls want to like go to school tomorrow? Or do you guys want to go to every outlet up and down the East Coast and go on a shopping spree? And what do you think her three girls chose, right? We chose shopping spree. But that's because of this industry. She had that additional income to say, I'm going to show up as the best mother that I can for these three little girls. And we had a blast. We traveled the world. We went to Disney and they shut down the parks and all of that. So I share that because if you met me, you would have never known. A lot of you guys probably would have never approached me to recruit me. Okay. And I'm going to share why. I went to Howard University. I got my degree in chemistry. I was supposed to go to law school, y'all. I was supposed to be a patent attorney, sitting at a desk, not talking to people for real, until I realized, I said, what do you mean I can't talk to people? They were like, it's really contractual law, not litigation. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. I am a people person, right? And so I automatically was said, law school is not necessarily for me. And so I said, what do I want to do with my life? I was in my junior year. And I said, well, I love the arts. I put that on the back burner. I really want to go after acting. I want to go after producing, but I don't want to starve. How many of us realize that we have passions and dreams and goals, and we don't want to starve while we get it? Like, I did not want to be hungry. And so I said, I can't be a starving artist. So what am I going to do? And so I worked in my profession for a couple of years as a chemist. Okay. And I was that person in the lab with the white coat. And then I said, okay, I'm ready to start my own business. So I opened up a traditional business, right? A consulting firm. And when I say traditional, I mean traditional for a millennial, which means we have a laptop and we're at a coffee shop, okay? So I had a consulting firm and I was helping small business owners, which is a passion of mine. And I was helping them expand their business. Some people would even call me a turnaround specialist, okay? So I was the person, if your business was not in the black, I was helping you get there, all right? And I was helping you create systems. And so I was 23, 24, absolutely crushing it in my eyes, loving it, but always exhausted, always looking to create a system, always trying to figure out how to replace myself, always on a plane, never at home. And so one day my mother said, Ariel, like, we have to figure something out because you're sick, you're tired, I never know where you're at. And even though you think you're grown, you're not. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna figure it out. So I invested $10,000 into my consulting firm family, 10 grand. And I said, I'm gonna figure out a system to be able to fully flesh it out so that I can replace myself so that I can buy time freedom. That's why the 10 grand was distributed, right? I wanted to buy time freedom. And so my mother says, well, I'm gonna help you. So she has her consulting firm, I have mine, and we're on LinkedIn. Pay attention. We're on LinkedIn. And so we're looking for clients. We're engaging with people. We're talking. We're on timelines. We're scouring. And somebody says, hey, listen, me and my business partners, and they're talking to my mother, me and my business partners are going to be down at, the Sheraton here. And, if you come connect with us, have drinks with us, we'll show you our app. You show us what you got. And then we can see if we can move forward with the collaboration. My mother said, absolutely, sure. Why not? She went ahead. She got in the car. She texted me the location. And then later that night, I got a text message and it said, I just did something. And family, guess what that was? It was Legalshield. Nobody in my mother's warm network recruited her. Nobody shared the beauty of this business, but two strangers text her this information over social media. Is somebody that has 20 years of network marketing experience was recruited into this business. Family, she recruited me 4 days later. I went executive director in 5 months. And I only started building this business full-time, maybe 2-3 months into this business. So on a 90-day run, I went ED. I went from manager to ED in 1 month, technically. Okay. And we got our first ring as an organization 2.5 years later. Right. And so I share that because anything is possible. Right? Like when I saw this information, I got so passionate about it because I said, who doesn't need a 24/7 emergency access button? Like I think of the Sandra Blands and the Trayvon Martins, and it just fires me up to know that if they had access, what would life be like? So when I left Howard University and HBCU with a mission, right? And so coming into Legalshield with mentorship and family and a compensation plan that could absolutely change our lives, I said, how could I not? How could I not partake? And so, of course, just family, what I want to share with you is this. Write the vision and make it plain. We hear that often, right? We hear write the vision and make it plain. But there was not one day that went by when I did not have my notebook in front of me, when I did not wake up and write out my mission statement and my activity and absolutely crush every single goal. It's the moments that I didn't do it that I felt off track, that I felt non-productive, that I felt like I wasn't getting to my next level, right? And so I was 26 when I started this journey, 26 going on 27. And I'm 30 now. When the pandemic hit, and this is where I'm going to end and I'm going to pass it to our next brilliant speaker. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, I looked around and I said, wow, everybody needs what we have right now. There's not one person in the world that doesn't need access right now. I said, everybody needs what we have on the money side right now. There's not one person I feel like that wasn't forced to get creative during the pandemic. And I said, when I was 26, going on 27, I made a decision that I would have never even known was going to be able to serve me in this capacity. So I'm just so excited that you guys are here, that you all are masterminding, that you're paying attention to every little detail, every little nugget that your leadership says and that your coach gives you. Because when you stay tuned in and plugged in, I'm telling you, life in another 3 years, it's only been 3.5 years for me, right? Life in another 3 years could look completely different. So without further ado, I have the opportunity to introduce and present to some, right? A sister of mine. And when you hear us say this is family, you guys, it truly is like, this is somebody that I can call. This is somebody that I don't have to mince words with. This is a woman that looks younger than me. And I'm telling you, like, has so much wisdom. I'm like, I just want to look like her one day. God, this is why I dyed my hair blonde. No. But I saw them go to a ring level in one of the shortest amount of times, her and her husband in Legalshield history. I see them pour into a team, and like literally we'll be on the phone and she's like, Ariel, I want to make sure that they have everything that they need. I've seen her go on trips and make sure that she pays attention to every person that approaches her and gives them every little detail that they need. If she can give you time, family, she absolutely will. Servant leader, Mrs. Alicia Dukes, over to you, sis.
Wow. Thank you, sis. I mean, I brought the tissue because I was prepared. Like I knew for sure that everybody on this Zoom was going to have me over here because I'm one of those. But you are amazing. And when I saw this lineup, I was just like, what? Like I get to be a part of this? No freaking way. And then they were like, you have to follow Miss Ariel Simone. I was like, get out of here, because her energy is so magnetic and it is just through the roof. So thank you so much for those kind words. And thank you so much, Mr. Tanner and Dr. Rousseau, for this humbling opportunity, to be before you tonight. Like she said, my name is Alicia Dukes, you guys, and I'm coming to you from Niceville, Florida. And I'm intentionally in my kitchen because this is where my family gathers, and this is where decisions are made. So this is where I'm like most comfortable, right? So I hope that you are in that sweet spot for you, wherever that is, and you are leaning in, right? Like Miss Simone said, and taking, good notes, because you are amongst some rock stars here. My professional background is dentistry, you guys, 30 years. Yes, I do love teeth, and I am still in the trenches, so I still work full time. My hobby turned part-time business actually was officiating women's college basketball. And I did that for 22 years, you guys. Yes, I went from one environment, right, of getting told, no, and I hate, no offense, but I hate you, to an entirely different environment where it was like 50% of the, gym loved me and the other half hated my guts. So yeah, was I prepared for Legalshield? Kinda, right? I was already kind of a Legalshield associate in the making, so to speak, right? I just didn't know it. But my husband and I, we actually got started with Legalshield about 3 years ago, around the same time, I think, as Miss Simone. And prior to meeting, my hunk of a man, I was a single mom for 16 years that endured, of course, it all, right? And it was definitely one of, several survival of the fittest, moments. But I've been blessed to be a blended family now and the mother to 5. Yes, 5 beautiful babies for the last 5 years. And our children are 13, 20, 21, 23, and 24. And when we saw, the capability of having access to this membership, there were 2 things that were obvious for us. Number one, we both had a few things that we need to kind of clear up and take care of, right? Now that we were a blended family, we had some child support matters that we need to take care of. And I had, been getting the runaround from a car accident that I was in, and I was trying to handle, right, on my own. And so we immediately had some, emergent needs to tackle. But then we also saw it as an opportunity to position our children to be the best version of themselves, right? Because we were young parents, right? And, there were a lot of decisions that we made that, looking back, of course, right, we'd like to have been able to, pivot a little bit quicker, right? Or, have a better outcome. And so we saw this as a tool to be able to, adult our children, right? To help them, to provide them a resource to, to make better decisions. And so that was the immediate concern. We saw value in the membership right away. But little did we know that within a month of actually, taking advantage of the memberships and becoming associates, that we were going to be blindsided by what I would say is the most, painful experience I've ever gone through in my entire life. And that was my oldest son attempting suicide. And I I can probably throw out several different adjectives, right? Like to try to describe and explain to you what that feels like. And it is a daily battle, right? It doesn't just, those types of feelings don't just go away. But you know, it's taken a lot of therapy, I'll be very honest, because it was a very humbling experience to get to the point to where we are now. And I know that I'm not fully responsible for his actions, but I am accountable. And through this process of, you know, relearning him and myself, right, within that experience, I learned that, you know, we're all taking on too much, right? That we, you know, are trying to solve our own problems, that we think that we're weak for asking, you know, for help. And I learned that I'm not the only family that's operating in this space, right? And, you know, I also learned that there are several behaviors that became learned behaviors, right? That my children were internalizing some of the actions, or I should say, you know, the decisions that I was not making, right? Maybe some of the things that I was avoiding or hiding from, or, you know, trying to sort and figure out on my own, that he actually was internalizing, you know, a lot of those behaviors. And I just want, I say all that because it made me slow down even more so, you know, obviously than before the pandemic, right? That was my wake up call. That was, and about that same time, I actually transitioned to more of a management role and not a clinical role within my practice. And I did that intentionally because I also wanted to be in a leadership position. And knowing what I know now and what I experienced, I wanted to make sure that my team, that my coworkers that have also shared intimate life stories with me, right? Both the good and the bad of what they'd experienced. And even my patients, right? I've laid in a chair and talked to, you know, maybe not you per se, but many people like you, right? Over my tenure that have just shared with me and opened up about things that they were going through in life. And it was like all of these things were happening intentionally at the same time. And so it just opened my eyes to the fact that there was an immediate need for everything that Legalshield has to offer. And so I just became a very intentional listener, not only for my son, for my family, right? But for my patients, for my coworkers, for my neighbors, my, you know, fellow church members, for strangers. And that is what allowed us to, you know, be rewarded with the not only the financial compensation, right? The ability to be able to, you know, hit the executive director position and, you know, be able to eclipse the, you know, $50,000 ring at, you know, which we're still building on, right? We're all still building on. And, you know, it's afforded us the ability to have extra income, right? Come into our household. And I was able to retire. I don't have to get yelled at anymore, right? But at least so, but, you know, it's not, like they say, it's not the money itself, right? It's not, it's the result of what the money brings. And I will be completely real, right? Like my children were very involved, lots of extracurricular activities, constantly going, but it took money to be able to fund those extracurricular activities, right? And I hated fundraising. I'm gonna keep it all the way real, right? Like I hated it with a passion, because I felt like I was always begging people, right, to help support a decision that, you know, we made to participate in something. So to each his own, right? No disrespect, but I saw this as an avenue to be able to provide a resource for people because there's already an immediate need, but then in turn, it provided my family to be able to participate in those things. It allowed us to be able to pay for, you know, football. They played almost every single sport, you guys, right? Like, so all the uniforms and, you know, and all the trips that they, you know, needed to take for tournaments and things of that nature. And being able to actually tell my daughters when they walked out of the dressing room for prom, right, that they didn't have to look at the price tag on the dress. Like all of those things are just amazing feelings, right? And we've created so many memories as a result of being able to have the extra income. And so that is what has been, so profound to me. And then, of course, the ability now to be able to pour into my nonprofit as well, United for a Good Cause, which is also has piloted a Hope Squad program, which is a peer-to-peer suicide prevention program that I just absolutely am in love with, right? That now we're able to put into the school systems. But I'll leave you, with this. A lot of it has to do with a mindset, having the right mindset. And there's two particular scriptures that I want to share with you guys tonight that have led us to the success that we are currently having and are going to continue to have. And the first one is James 1, verses 2 through 4. Dear brothers, it is your life full of difficulties and temptations. Then be happy, for when the way is rough, your patience has a chance to grow. So let it grow, and don't try to squirm out of your problems. For when your patience is finally in full bloom, then you will be ready for anything, strong in character, full and complete. And so I know that we need to go through what we need to go through, because adversity not only builds character, but it reveals character. And the last verse that I'd love to share with you is Philippians 2:3. And that says, don't be selfish. Don't live to make a good impression on others. Be humble, thinking of yourself. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself. Don't just think about your own affairs, but be interested in others too and what they are doing. So being an intentional listener has led us to where we are, and also led me to meeting Mr. Tanner and Dr. Danielle Russo, because we were in the pool in Mexico, and I stopped and made it a point, right, to introduce myself and be able to be in their presence and listen. And so I am going to now turn this call over to the brains and the beauty behind this organization. I'm sorry, Jim, but and that is Dr. Danielle Russo, which is now a 200,000 ring earner, right? And soon to be $1 million ring earner as well. But they're also $1 Million Club members as well. And she is a professor of forensic psychology at Boston University and has an adorable daughter. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate that so much. And thank you for sharing so openly and so powerfully. And, it's amazing. What I want to talk about tonight is connection and my Legalshield story. But, that conversation in that pool, I'm so glad that we connected. And, I feel I learned far more in connecting with you than you possibly could have. I was just so grateful to really be able to connect in that deep and personal way. And like I said, that's what I want to talk about tonight. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. Although I think if anyone saw the land acknowledgement, you would have to agree that probably the beauty and the brains of the family is actually Olive, certainly the most articulate speaker of all of us. But thank you all for being here. Jim and I are so grateful to have this amazing group of speakers tonight, and everyone sharing their story and their journey to and then forward with Legalshield. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about my story personally, kind of separate from Jim's, but with Jim. And share my story and talk a bit about connection, because for me personally, my Legalshield story is actually a convention story, and that may be the case for some of you as well. So I came to Legalshield, and truly came to Legalshield as a result of a convention. And at the time, Jim and I weren't married yet. We were dating. I was finishing my PhD, working on my dissertation. I was also working full-time in the prison system as a mental health clinician and trauma therapist. So I was doing crisis work, helping individuals who were incarcerated in our carceral system. So I was doing that work full-time, also in school full-time and writing a dissertation. So needless to say, busy. And I knew Jim had a business outside of his, full-time job at the time. And I knew he worked very hard at it. We were both working very hard. We were both very busy, but we were both kind of just running hard, supporting each other. And, I supported him and I knew he was good at what he did, but I actually didn't quite really know what he did. And, he told me about his business and, I had some general understanding about it, but I didn't truly know what it was that he was doing, what Legalshield really was. So he invited me to a convention. It was the national convention that year was in Las Vegas. So we went to Las Vegas. He invited me. I came along and attended the convention. And that was really the pivotal moment that shifted things for me. Listening to the speakers, hearing the attorneys speak, hearing about what Legalshield was and what it offered. Powerful speaker after powerful speaker. If you've been to a convention, you know what I'm talking about, that energy, the power, the empowerment. But in that, I truly learned about what Legalshield was and what it offered, both the opportunity, the business opportunity, but at the time, what was more transformative for me was the access to justice piece, because I was in a program for criminology and justice policy. I was a social justice advocate. I was working in the prison system, trying to make change from within. I sat with men and women every single day who were torn apart from their families, who were incarcerated, many times because of the color of their skin, many times because they couldn't afford a proper attorney. And that is the only reason they were there. And I knew that. And, I had to sit with them and help them through that crisis and, work with individuals who were suffering in so many ways and who were suicidal because of all the trauma of our criminal legal system. And doing that day to day while also studying the disparities in our justice system in a very analytical and statistical way, because for my dissertation, I did a study of sentencing practices in the United States and how those differ based on our gender, based on our race, based on identity characteristics, not legal distinctions. So I was really working hard for social justice and fighting inequities that were in the justice system. I had no idea that Jim was doing the exact same thing. He was working to share a tool, a product that gave individuals equal access to justice, a tool that if somebody got pulled over or stopped and maybe not rightfully so, or maybe they were targeted solely because of the color of their skin, they could have a tool. They could get their attorney on the phone and have a different impact. And if you're paying any attention to the world now, you know that it is such a problem, that it is the legal system does not treat every single person in the same way. And with Legalshield, it was an opportunity to offer something that leveled the ground a bit and offered a tool for access in a more equitable way. So for the first time at that convention, I saw what a tremendous resource Legalshield could be, and that Jim and I were running on the same paths, but separate from each other, doing the same thing, but not running together. And that's when it shifted for our family and for us. And, I said, I'm in too. We can, really run together. We can do this together. So I tell that story to share kind of my perspective, but again, I want to stress that that came from a convention. And for me, part of what is so powerful about a convention or a trip, you know, some of these amazing trips that we go on, yes, it's about relaxing and self-care and re-energizing, but more importantly, it's about connecting. For me, I get so excited for these trips because I get to connect with amazing people. Even though we're in a pool, Ariel, Alicia, we're having conversations about social justice issues and how we can change the world and improve mental health and help the justice system and change people's lives. And to me, that is what just sets my soul on fire. So how can you find connection? That is what I want you to really focus on in thinking about Legalshield and your work here. And also as part of that, how can you invite others into that connection? Jim and I talked a lot at the time, and obviously, you know, we're connected and, you know, knew what each other were doing, but not really. He couldn't explain to me what he was doing with Legalshield in the same way that I was able to get that complete picture by being at the convention. So who can you invite in? Who can you invite in with you? Bring to an event, bring to convention. It is important. The people you love in your life, the people you would love to be running with, won't know about what you're doing unless you share it with them, unless you truly share it with them. So bringing people into community, into connection is so powerful. And just to dig a little deeper here, I'll put my researcher hat on, my psychologist hat, and just stress the importance of connection because it actually makes each of us better. Almost every single attribute of success, intelligence, creativity, leadership potential, engagement, all of these, our capacity for them is related to our interconnectedness with others. So powerful. We can't have a poverty mindset. Instead, we really have to have this abundance mindset. And there's so much research to back this up. They did a study of Harvard students to look at factors that would predict their later success in life. So their success in academics, their success in the business world, their success as people, and they looked at all kinds of characteristics and studied them. And when they did this, really none of the individual level factors had an impact. The only thing that stood out as a predictor of future success was the measure of social connection. Social connection is the greatest predictor of thriving and of success. It's also connected, importantly, to our health. And some of you may have heard of the Framingham Heart Study. It is the longest running longitudinal study in history. It's actually a study that has been taking place in our hometown here, and many of my family members are legacy members of the study. But that Framingham Heart Study, again, many generations of health data that they took, they found that healthy people who have healthy individuals in their community and network actually are healthier. So the more connections you have that are healthy, the healthier you are. Additionally, people who are socially connected live longer. So it's not only good for your business, but it is absolutely good for your health. And if we don't have our health, we can't do all these beautiful things that we want to do. And that's true for everyone. So important to, again, have this abundance mindset. There is enough for all of us. So we don't have to be competitive. particularly in this business. There is enough for everyone. So how can we support others? How can we build a community of connection? How can we be agents of change together? Because when we do that, when we come together, we are actually each individually better as well, and we will have more success. So important. And this, I think, another important point is that this takes responsibility and initiative. So we need to think about who we are surrounding ourselves with. You've all heard that we are the average of the people we surround ourselves with, but that is true. So how can you be responsible for creating connection and shaping who you surround yourself with, who you invite in? So some questions to ask yourself as we're going forward in this work. Not only who are you spending time with, but are your connections serving your purpose? So we're talking tonight about our purpose and, all of these such important and passionate initiatives. Well, look around you. Are the people who are around you supporting that? So important. Also, fostering connection in your relationships is your responsibility. So you can't put that responsibility on others. You have to take that initiative. It's important that you really intentionally do this work of connection. And also that there may be pressures from other people in your life. There may be pressure to stay where you are. Maybe people are holding you back. You need to examine those relationships and then also examine what you're sharing. Like the story I shared at the beginning about me and Jim running on the same paths. How are you sharing what you're doing? Because if people don't know your passion, if they don't know your heart, if they don't know what you're running towards, they can't run with you. Finding connection, being in connection, is about finding love for all beings. So as we go forward and as we continue these amazing discussions, as we continue forward in this work of social justice, in creating means of equity and justice, equal access to justice, this important work that not only changes systems and changes people's lives, but also allows us to do the other acts of change that we are passionate about, those causes that we're passionate about. As we strive for success as a community of Legalshield, I invite you to center the question of how you can find the divine in each person you encounter. So with that, thank you all. It's such an honor to be amongst these amazing people, these incredible speakers. I'm going to hand it back over to Jim to share with us, my better half, my running partner in social justice, and the amazing team leader of Agents of Change. So powerful that he can bring together this group of amazing women speakers who are all agents of change and who are all changing the world and making it absolutely a better place. So with that, I will send it back to you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Just fabulous thoughts. And when I hear you tell our story, it's so interesting. It's inspiring to me. I lived it, and yet I learn from it every time I hear you retell it. And I'm so grateful that you are able to share that. I just wanted to check in with everybody. We're at about the midway point. And I want to say thank you to everyone that's been with us since the beginning. I know that some of you have come on during this event. You're moving in from another meeting or you're getting done with work and you weren't able to be with us in the beginning. We are recording this. We're going to make this available to all. And we'll make sure that everybody gets access to all of this so that you can continue to reap and harvest all that is this plenty you've gotten so far this evening. You heard this evening, we started with Camellia, Anita Sarda, Ariel Simone. As they poured into you, shared with you. You heard from Alicia Dukes, and you are hearing people, and I dare say this in the most precious and honorable way possible, ordinary people like you and I that are living an extraordinary life because someone opened a door and allowed them to walk through it. Many of you are guests here tonight. This event is hosted by our team. So it's put on by our team, Agents of Change. And maybe some of you are wondering, what do they mean? What does that even mean? Or maybe at the beginning you were wondering, but you wonder no more. I think it's become clearer what it is to be an agent of change in this world that we live in called Legalshield. That today people woke up with no idea that real equal access to justice, a voice and advocacy could be available to them. And because you stepped into their lives, whether they signed up as a member today or not, they go to bed knowing what their options are. You've stepped into people's lives today and shown them that there is opportunity without going begging to the bankers or the venture capitalists, because you can start a Legalshield business today and you're funded on day one with 1-year advanced commissions, ownership of your book of business, and mentors that will pour into you from every corner of the United States and Canada. You also, many of you might be wondering why we call this mastermind I Am the Lighthouse. And in Phoenix, Arizona, if you were with us at our fall leadership convention, you saw a whole bunch of purple I Am the Lighthouse t-shirts around the grounds and in the convention center. And maybe you're wondering, some of you as guests, what does that mean? But maybe by this point in the meeting, you're not wondering at all, because there is darkness out there. And each of us shine a light of positivity, an opportunity, a light that cuts through the darkness and the dread and provides a better tomorrow and a brighter day. But it isn't just the lighthouse's job to shine a light, it's also its job to remain. And you will continue to hear from and meet people that have been with Legalshield for years and decades. Just like the lighthouse, standing strong on the hill, in all weather, prepared to give people safe harbor. I speak for all of the agents of change when I invite you to consider yourself an agent of change. And remember every day in what you do that you are also the lighthouse. Now let's get back to our great speakers. For the last year and a half, I've had a unique opportunity here in the Northeast region to work with Jo Welch. She introduced herself at the beginning as our tech fairy, and that is an understatement. I literally don't know how any of what's happening right now works, but luckily she does. And she makes it so easy for me. For the last year and a half, Jo and I have been co-hosting and co-leading the Northeast region in hopes of providing some inspiration and influence in the lives of Legalshield independent associates here. And Jo has made that easier for me every single week. It is my absolute honor to turn the time over to you now, Jo, for your thoughts and to continue us on. But let me say on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for all you do, unsung and unseen, every single day so that we can all be better. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful and warm introduction. My name is Jo Welch, and I'm here in the state of Massachusetts. And there's just been so many powerful words that have been said so far, and I feel connections to every single one of those stories. My story is that Legalshield saved my life. In 3 years in a row, I had the most amazing despair and loss. I had some significant health issues. My husband, who's a blues musician, lost his partner, our brother, suddenly in death, and then COVID hit and took away business. It gives me pause even to say it now. And you may wonder, how did Legalshield save my life? Well, at the time, I had so many misconceptions. I'm a first-generation American. My parents are from Colombia. I was born here and raised here, but I just never felt like I belonged. And I don't know if you ever feel like that. Maybe you feel like people have and have nots, or you want something, but you can't get it. There's limitations, whatever that is. For me, I just felt like I never belonged. I felt like I was behind the 8 ball, and nothing proved that more than where I was at that time. Now, mind you, I was already a Legalshield associate, but I didn't know what I had. I'd signed up, but I put it aside, like I think a lot of us do, like a lot of the people in your teams do. I'd put that associate aside because I wasn't ready to sell. I wasn't ready. Like, I just didn't understand. So I went to New York, and that New York crew, they're the ones that started it. They saved my life. And believe it or not, it's all in the form of a briefing. There were briefings. And my upline, who you'll meet shortly, invited me and said, why don't you come out and meet me here? And so I showed up. And suddenly I was a part of something outside of myself, something greater. So then I did it again. I'm going to tell you, I went to Queens. And if it wasn't for, their names escape me right now, but this amazing brother, sister team out in Queens who gave me a ride home. Like, all of a sudden, in one of my darkest moments, there was this light. It was a light of different people. We've already heard these statements like you are the average of the 5 people around you. Thank you, Jamal and Jade Yassin. Yes, Yassin. And suddenly, in one of the hardest places of my life, the people around me started to change, and were bringing me out of that, and were showing me that I had a greater purpose. You would think that things can't get lower, but to know that I had a support, I had something that I could believe in. There was so much I had to unlearn. I don't know if you've been in that space before. So much I had to unlearn. And I found a company whose mission not only did I believe in, but had been living already my entire life fighting for, but didn't necessarily have the words for. We were sales. This idea of sales, and what do people even think about that? Like, that puts a lot of people into turmoil. We struggle with this idea, but we have to unlearn it. And the way I describe this, and I describe this to my team, I describe this to people talk, it's like we are in service of. We are in service of, and this is my example, broccoli or asparagus. And you may think like, what are you talking about, Joe? And what I mean is that whether we're promoting or selling or feeding our children asparagus, fundamentally what we're trying to do is we are in service of something. We're in service of something, trying to bring something greater to somebody else. So I say that I was in service of asparagus, and that once I wrap my brain around, there's always some reason why you would be conveying a message to someone, especially something that might be useful, helpful. It might be the thing that they're looking for. In service of asparagus. I was in need of community. And I found a company, I found a team, I found the most amazing people who were welcoming me. Our servant leadership, our servant hearts that welcome everyone, who created an environment that wasn't about competition. The competitive edge is more like, how can we be better about ourselves? And it was something that I had to unlearn where I fit into the world. How can I be ambitious and still wake up in the morning and love myself and look at the idea of wealth. I had to unlearn all of these different concepts. I don't know if you've been there. Certainly tell me in the chat if you've been there. Are there things you've had to unlearn? The sales cycle, for me, I didn't have to unlearn it. Instead, I started finding out that there were names for things that we were doing, that maybe we already were doing, like gathering and being together, sharing news. A lot of our communities have that as a part of it. And so all of those things were part of the thing that is bringing me not only to today, but moving forward. So Legalshield continues to save my life on a daily basis, giving me something to look forward to, helping me get over obstacles. And then I meet this amazing guy, Jim Tanner, who is my mentor. And we've been collectively creating community here in New England because, again, sometimes there's these things out there that feel like they're just insurmountable. And the words I'm going to use may not seem insurmountable, but for some it is. The Massachusetts license. And you may think like, Joe, you were just talking about you were at the bottom of your world. I know, but for some people that those mountains, whatever they are, they seem to be standing, they hold us back. And the reality is that all of these things are surmountable. We can get through them. And together we're building community in New England where a lot of people believe that business couldn't thrive. And I'm here as proof that is not the case. We have a large and growing not only community and members, but also we have associates who are here in Massachusetts. And I'm going to be bringing on a partner, actually a dear friend, who is a part of this journey, and she's the one who brought me into this journey. So I'm going to need you to are we able to turn on your camera? Ooh. There you are. And the reason I'm going to bring up this friend of mine and also colleague and business owner is she is a dear friend. We're sign language interpreters together. And I've known her since, I see you, I've known her since, hang on one second. I'm also the tech fairy, so you're seeing my wings aflutter. I'm going to say to Jim, you need to open up her video, please.
My audio is on, just my video isn't.
So, I'm a sign language interpreter. I'm a Latina. I speak Spanish. We met through that Latina connection, that community connection, that collective culture connection. And she's always been someone that I admire, her work ethic and what she brings to the table. I have seen Amelia throughout my career, always leading the way. And she's the person in my life where if she says, hey, there's this thing, I just go, here's my money, where do you want me to show up? And that has been our relationship our entire lives together. And so she introduced me to Legalshield because I was struggling with identity theft over and over and over again. And she's like, look, you don't need to get it, but there's this thing, and it just, that impacted me. And then she's like, you should probably try the plan. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, you should probably become an associate. You would really be awesome at it. And I got to tell you, that was 6 years ago almost. And I'm a part of her team. She's a part of my team. We are family. But there's also something else that's really wonderful about what we do together. And Jim, just so you know, we're going to stay on the screen a little bit together. So there isn't going to be the transition that you have been seeing thus far, everybody. But I want to introduce Amelia Wan. She's part of Keith and Amelia Wan out of Pennsylvania. They are $50,000 ring earners. They are the leaders of the amazing and ridiculously awesome deaf team. We have an enormous, enormous deaf team here in Legalshield. And she's also one of my dearest friends, and we have just been through so much together. And I'm seeing some things in the chats, leadership, and that you are the mother hen. They call her the mother hen of the deaf team. And so, everybody, this is Amelia Wan.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. It has been an amazing evening, and I'm kind of at a little bit of a loss for words, but I'm going to tell you my story. That's really all I can do is because I hear from each person and I feel like that's me. that's me. I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but it's like, that's me. Everything resonates with me. There's a little bit of everybody that resonates with me. So yes, we do have an amazing deaf team. We also have an amazing hearing team, which Joe, you are part of that hearing team. So let me just tell you a little about my story. In 1999, I saw prepaid legal. Because I was a sign language interpreter, I was asked to go and interpret for a person who was getting some legal counsel. And at the end of their meeting with the attorney, who just happened to be my attorney because I had a business and I used them because I'm a smart businesswoman, I had my own attorney, my own law firm. And as every smart business person should have their own law firm. Well, at the end of this meeting, the deaf person and the attorney say, well, this is your bill, but because you are a prepaid legal member, you get 25%. Now, just imagine my surprise as a business owner, paying full price, interpreting for someone getting a 25% discount. I almost died. That was in 1999. I turned to the deaf person afterwards. I happened to know them on a personal level. So I was able to say, hey, how'd you get that 25% discount? They said, I have this card. I've had it for 20 years. Get that, 20 years. I don't know where I got it from, but I have it and it gives me this amazing discount. I'm like, I need this card. So you would think that I would say 10 days later, I signed up for prepaid legal. Unfortunately, that is not my story. It wasn't until 2007 that my best friend told me about prepaid legal. And I said, you don't have to tell me anything about it. I want it. I know exactly what it is. I know what it does. I've been looking for it for the last couple of years. Sign me up. And that was it. At that time, I had an amazing company for sign language interpreting. My friends were deaf. My friends were sign language interpreters. I am a believer, so I had my church friends. So I had a lot of people I was telling about Legalshield. Well, at that time, prepaid legal, but I was not getting paid for it because I did not know about the business opportunity. Get that. So that's really important, guys. In 1999, I heard about it, I knew about it, and I didn't get signed up till 2007-ish. And it wasn't until 2011 that my husband got called to interpret at the Legalshield conference. And he's like, there's a business opportunity attached to this. Now, here's a part of the story that a lot of people do not know. In 2010, a year before that, my great company, my flourishing company, my company that gave me my time freedom, my financial freedom, was gone on a Friday at 3 o'clock. I had 30 some odd breastfeeding moms, because that's where I was. I was just had my first child, and I hired a whole bunch of mothers that could not work. And they were sign language interpreters, and they were doing VRS, which is this kind of interpreting through video. And I only hired women who were stay-at-home moms. And a lot of them were, my friends. So we were all at the same age, having kids and stuff. And they were all out of work in one day because some laws changed in the government. And that was a hard day to lose your business, have a couple of kids that are under 2, and having to fire a lot of people. Talk about low. My husband and I were both in the business, so it was a 2-house income now gone to 0. Well, Legalshield does come our way, and I love that Joe, found Legalshield, and it helped her so much. It did the same thing for us. At that time, because we were so big, we were unemployable because all our competition would not want to hire us because we were doing such great work that when we said, hey, listen, we no longer have this business, we can work for you, everybody told us no. So we were unemployable in what we want to do, which was sign language interpreting. So in 2011, Keith saw the opportunity because he interpreted the conference, and he said, hey, let's go in. I said, absolutely, whatever we have to do, let's go in. I was a successful businesswoman. He actually was one of the first people on YouTube to get 1 million hits. TV's newscasters were calling him. YouTube asked him to speak at their conference. So, we were common people with some skill, right? But then when all that gets taken away, we're just people who need to get paid. We are people who have to feed our family. When it's all gone, what's left is you have to put a roof over your head. You got to feed yourself and your kids, right? And that's where we were when Legalshield came along with the business opportunity. We loved the membership. We had had it since 2007. We're now 2011. We've had stories because it helped us through these terrible, terrible times. Because at the time that we could not pay for an attorney, thank God we had Legalshield to help us, because our monthly payments covered our legal costs on everything that we were going through, losing the business, losing our house, just a whole bunch of things that, yes, tissues, the whole 9 yards. I can make it into a really sad story, but here's the good part. Legalshield was there for us. So in 2011, we became associates. Now, you think like we became associates and that was it and everything's glorious. Well, who were our friends? Our friends were deaf folks. My husband's parents are deaf. My parents are from South America. I'm first generation in this country. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I paid for it myself by selling chocolate. That's another story for another day, because my parents couldn't pay for college. But all our friends were deaf. And what does Legalshield say? Make a list of your friends and your family. Well, Keith's mom's deaf. Keith's dad's deaf. Unfortunately, at that time, there wasn't a deaf community doing Legalshield. Legalshield did not understand about accessibility at that moment. The technology wasn't there. So here we were having this great, great service, and we're trying to share it with our friends and family. We couldn't. Well, luckily, the leadership that we have is just so amazing. At that time, it was Alan Fernley, and he happened to have had a deaf roommate in college. So when I went up to Alan Fernley, and you know, how many people can go to the top of the top, but just in Legalshield and say, hey, I need help. And I told him, hey, listen, we need captions. We need all this stuff. And he's like, tell us what you need. And we had to build the system all over again. Not that I had to make it up. Now, let's not get this wrong here. What we had to do is bring it to Legalshield and say, hey, this is what we need to be done. And we told them, hey, listen, this is what we need access. We need briefings. We need everything that everybody else has. We needed it for the deaf. And it took us a couple of years. It took us a lot of trial and error, whether it be interpreters. I have to say, a big shout out to Don Thompson. Don Thompson was one of the most amazing regional managers. I mean, now look at him. I mean, it never surprises me. The stuff that comes out of that man is just gold all the time. That's leadership for you. Back then, he said, hey, listen, we have Super Saturdays. I'll have this little section. You fill it up. Don't worry about the interpreting services. I'll take care of it. So what was my job was to get more people in the seats. That's all he wanted. He's like, let's help more people. That was his heart. Because of leadership like that, because we had someone like that in the trenches. I was in Florida at the time. He helped us see the vision of Super Saturdays are important. There's a system already. I didn't have to reinvent something. I just had to plug into it, and I had to plug my people into it. And that's what we did. That's the success of this company, is the fact that if you do what the leaders say, you will find success. Our first year in Legalshield, we made enough money to keep us going. At that time, they didn't have ring levels of 50,000. They had 100,000. We were going for that 100,000. So we only made 67 our first year. Only 67. We went from $0 to $67,000. I mean, that's a lot for someone who just lost their home. That is Legalshield's system. If you do what they say, because Don said, get seats filled and you have success. He said, go to your briefings every week. Well, you know what? I did not know that they said, go to a briefing. They told us, go to the briefing in your area. In my area, there were three briefings. And I brought someone to each of those briefings because that's what I was told. So when I saw the system working for me, I said, I have to get the deaf people, my deaf friends, involved in this. So we ended up having our first ASL briefing in Florida. We rented a hotel. We got pizza. At that time, you weren't allowed to have like food, not like now with Ladies of Justice, bring food, do all this stuff. We were kind of ahead of our time. So we brought in pizzas and we filled those rooms with deaf people because we had to pay for that hotel room. The system told us what to do. So what we knew we had to do on our end so that we would have success and the folks that we were bringing in have success was make it accessible, right? Like you see tonight, Joe, the tech fairy, has the captions on. That is something that's very important. It's such a simple thing that we can do in our marketplace to turn on the captions, especially with Zoom. Just turn it on and you give accessibility, right? So my whole entire thing with Legalshield has been to educate about our deaf community, because like Zig Ziglar says, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough people get what they want. And that has been my and my husband's whole entire thought with Legalshield. And that's for everybody, whether it be for the legal system, for access, for success in the business. Just help people get what they need, get what they want, and you'll get what you want. And that has been really the secret to our success. Legalshield has a system. Let's get people in that system. And because of the accessibility, because of interpreting services, because Legalshield has been so gracious to see that vision with us, that we have an amazing deaf community. And our goal right now, it's not a goal so much for me, but it's for the folks that come in, is our goal as a team is to have the first deaf person to get a ring in any network marketing company. Now, listen, if your goals are not big, get some big goals, because it just keeps us going over and over and over again. Until I have a deaf person get a ring, I'm not stopping. And then when that happens, I want another, because I'm greedy like that, you know? I'm definitely greedy like that. I want our team, I want Legalshield to have the first deaf person earn a ring. And I know it can happen, because if we stay system dependent and we have the accessibility, the sky's the limit. Anita said that before. There are no limits in Legalshield. And I have to say, Kim's family, I have to say, at first when we first started, we didn't know who our upline was, just because we just didn't know. The person who we signed up with wasn't really plugged in. And the first people that we talked to was the Melia family. Mike Melia spent 3 hours with me, just talking to me and explaining to me how the system worked, because we didn't have the fast start trainings at that time like we have nowadays. But he has no financial ties to me whatsoever, but he poured into me. Right? John Balcone down in Florida had no financials. Don Thompson had no financials tied to me, and he still helped me out. That's the kind of business that we're in today. And honestly, if it was not for Legalshield, I don't know what we would have done, because the only thing I knew to do was be a sign language interpreter. And no one was hiring me at that time. So I am so grateful to Legalshield. I'm so grateful to the simple system. And I'm so grateful for those leaders who said, yes, Amelia, this is what you need. We'll make it happen. Yes, Amelia, we'll help you out. Because they could have said no. It could have been, well, it's a financial burden. Well, we need somebody better than that. And like Keith says, there's nobody better than my parents. I'm always recruiting up. Every deaf person I bring into the system, I'm recruiting up. So for you, if you have a deaf person that you might know, or you know someone who knows a deaf person, don't prejudge them. Don't say no. We have plenty of directors on our team. We're going to break an ED soon enough. I'm hoping for the end of the year to have our first deaf ED. So we are here for you. We're on the calendar. If there's anything we can do, I've worked so hard to get the system in place with Legalshield. We have codes for ASL. We have the briefing in ASL. We are the only network marketing company that is fully accessible. And I don't know if that is literally falling on deaf ears or not, but that is unheard of. That is absolutely unheard of. Deaf people are constantly. Today, I just saw on the news, a deaf man went through the Burger King drive-through and was asked to leave the drive-through because he had to use the speaker. That's discrimination. As a sign language interpreter for 30 some odd years, I've been fighting fighting discrimination with deaf people, hand in hand, side by side. And this is the solution. Legalshield is the solution. So what you have is just so powerful. We have a sign name in sign language. You have your English name and you have your sign name. Our sign name in sign language for our team one is this, because we are going to take your hand and bring you up and help you up. That is our mission. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Ms. Kai Deering. She is Millionaire Club member, 300, no, without putting it into the air, there you go, $200,000 ring earner. She is one of the top, really the top 5 network vice presidents of the year 2020. Look at that, in a pandemic, she still rocked it. Ms. Kai Deering, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I had no idea about that story. That's unbelievable. Mega congratulations. Really appreciate it. I hope your leg feels better soon. And what a gift you are to everyone. Just wow. And Joe and all my friends here. It's really, really an honor to be able to share with you. So I was just asked to share a little bit about my story, and I'm sure it's similar. And these stories are so inspiring, empowering. It's just an amazing time to be a part of this company. And so I'll just share with you quickly. I was already a member. My last corporate America job, they offered Legalshield as a voluntary benefit. At the time, it was called prepaid legal. And when I got canned, this is so funny, I got fired for insubordination. And I actually had to look it up. I was like, what is insubordination? And it was for, basically I have an attitude problem with authority. And I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I get it, why I got fired. And I made a decision right then and there. I would never be under anyone's thumb. I was just gonna go do my own thing. And at the time I was 100% commissioned anyway. So what difference did it make if I, was a drummer to my own beat? So I made a decision right there, drew my line in the sand and said, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and be an entrepreneur. And I started off in the healthcare insurance arena, actually. And I just wanted that residual income. I had made some big sales and understood the value of, overrides, because I was 100% commissioned. How do you actually incentivize a 100% commission person to help another 100% commission person? Well, you better give them a piece of it. And so I had seen that before, and I had been a recruiter. And so I went into this whole healthcare insurance and I thought, this is going to be so great. And I actually hated it. I started making some good money. We were first to the market with an HSA, and that just means like the high deductible plans. And so we layered it with a lot of different things. And one of the things that we layered it with was a legal plan. And at the time, it was kind of funny. I had bought their small business plan. I was referring it for free. The only reason we brought it into our agency was because somebody called and said, hey, do you guys offer legal plans as a voluntary benefit? And I'm like, of course we do. We did not. I had to find that little gal's card somewhere in my files, like just where's that card? And I said, all right, fine. I need to get, the wording was appointed. I need to get appointed with you. So I got signed up with Legalshield, and for about 3.5 years alongside my other career, I started offering it to them. And it just started becoming really, really apparent. I was referring it for free. Like I always say, I decided to sell it. And at some point it just didn't make sense anymore. I was like, all the reason I had got started with health insurance, residual income, overrides, right? It just didn't deliver on those promises. As fast as I could pack it in the front end, it would leak out the back end. My own mother would have sold me down the river for 20 bucks off a health insurance policy. And so I just got to tell you, I didn't love it at all, but Legalshield offered everything that I was looking for. If you think about it, it had, no underwriting, guaranteed issues, no employees, no overhead, no paperwork, no continuing licensing. I could write it anywhere. I wasn't bound to a state. I wasn't bound to, the size of a, this or that. And so it just made so much sense. So I'll never forget when I got fired, I came home, we weren't married at the time, but I came home to my husband and I said, okay, I'm gonna never, when I got fired, I'm like, I'm never going back to corporate America. I'm gonna do insurance. And then a few years later, I came up to him again. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do Legalshield and I'm gonna get rid of this book of business. I sold it for some chump change. But it was really funny. He was like, oh, rolled his eyes. He's like, oh Lord, here we go again. Well, it was the best decision that I ever made. I mean, you figure I've now was part-time for about 3.5 years until I made enough income where I felt like I could walk away. But I didn't make enough income. I actually quit a little bit too soon, was kind of broke, should have waited out a little bit longer. I didn't know how to work from home. So it wasn't very successful there in the beginning, but I just really stuck with it. I've been with the company. I'll celebrate 20 years here at the end of the year. And it was really just the best decision that I ever made. And so people all the time say, well, why'd you stick it out? I was making a multiple 6 figures, in my insurance company, but at the end of the day, I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, no matter how hard I work, I'm always just going to be grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And I'm just forever grateful. One, that waitress and student didn't prejudge me and say, oh, you already have, an entrepreneurial venture, you wouldn't be interested in something. She didn't prejudge me and say, oh, you already make enough money that you wouldn't be interested. Because truly I was time broke and I hated what I was doing. And I got to tell you, I'd say there's about 3 things that I could share with you that, contributed. And I'm certain that everyone says the same thing. And the number one thing I can tell you is that I showed up. That was it. I was the girl that showed up to everything. And I know I get to introduce Elizabeth Gardner, and I'll never forget her and her husband coming out to events and Paso Robles out there. And I'm thinking, someday I'm going to be friends with her. Someday I'm going to be, on top of this company. And so I showed up to I never missed. So the reason I understood that showing up was really the key to success was because I actually went to college, my first term in college. I got like a 3.8. I barely studied. I was, playing soccer for the University of Oregon. I was, dormitory president and all these things. And I barely studied, and I got a 3.8. And I'm like, I don't even need those good grades. So the next term, I just stopped showing up to school, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't pass my midterms on my finals, right? Because I didn't show up to school. They told me everything. It was the ultimate hack. I didn't even really have to study. They told me everything I needed to know. And I flunked out of college that year. Luckily, I got back in, got on the dean's list. And I'm probably not really using that degree anyway, but I say that to say, right, 99% of your success is going to be showing up. You're going to get the inspiration you need. You're going to get the education you need to be able to just go for one more day, see yourself in somebody else's shoes and be like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. And so I just stayed for one more day, one more event. And I would give myself a lot of credit. In fact, there was a team event that was coming up, and we were engaged, and our wedding date, I'd already sent out save the date invitations. And oops, that date happened to be the date that they announced that we were going to have a team event. So I remember there's always a sale being made. Either, you're buying someone else's excuses or they're buying yours. And so I went to my husband and said, we got to change the date. And he was like, wait, what? We already had a deposit down. He's like, we're going to lose all this money. I'm like, well, I made the hard decision once. If you make it once, which is I'm never going to miss ever, ever, ever. And so I got to tell you, we changed the date. Yeah, his parents thought I was nuts. Are you sure you want to marry that girl? She's nuts. Well, again, it was the best decision we ever made. As a result of making that decision, I was able to fulfill some loudmouth promises, and he paid for the wedding. Like I said, I had quit my career and didn't know how to work from home, and I wasn't making all the money I was making because I didn't know what I was doing. And luckily, because of Legalshield, I'm like, oh, I'll cover the honeymoon, honey. So I used Cabo as our honeymoon. And if anybody remembers back then, it was at, I can't remember what the name of the place was. We went to them many times, but we went to the really fancy resort, and I went a couple days early. But by about day 3, all of these Legalshield associates started showing up, and he was like, you tricked me. I'm like, yeah. So I got a free trip, free airfare. All I had to do was pay for a couple of nights of this beautiful property. And we really had a great honeymoon. And it was right then and there that he saw what we were up to with Legalshield. He met the people, he hung out, at the pool, half naked with these people. And like ever since, they probably like Mark, my husband, probably more than they like me. They love him. He's amazing. And that really changed everything for us. When we came back, he was always pretty supportive, but he came back and said, wow, you're really onto something. So if it was our Wednesday night overview, we were going live at the time, and I was running late, and before he'd be like, are you going to another one of those meetings? I'd be like, yeah. Now it was like, hey, you might be late for that meeting. You should probably get going. So one thing I'll tell you is never miss anything, show up to everything. Number 2 is, get in Performance Club. And that's right then and there, the bridge to that, right? Because I showed up in activity, I got into Performance Club. You can't just show up and be a permanent spectator. But Performance Club was everything for me. That first year, part-time, alongside that health insurance, I made an extra $500 a month. And that was good, funny money. And I really appreciated that. It was great extra money. But that second year, because I was in Performance Club and I earned that trip, we used it for our honeymoon. I had somebody that said, listen, I would want to earn a trip and earn a little extra money. So that next year we went from 6,000 to 14, just the same exact thing kept happening. All I did was get in Performance Club. That third year went from 6,000 to 14 to 37,000. I quit probably like I said, too soon, probably right in between there, which was 37,000 to the 69,000 is where I walked away from my career. The 5th year, it was 98,000. The 7th year, for the most part, it was whether I worked or not. And the reason I say that to say to you is PC honeymoon. Now, every time now we go on our anniversary, it's usually on one of these exotic trips. I'll never forget, you reminded me of that, Joe, in there. We were at one of these all expense paid trips. They kind of all blur together. And we were sitting with our arms like this on one of those infinity pools, looking out at the water. And I looked over at him and he looked over at me and I said, aren't you glad I changed the wedding date? And I just remember he put his hand on my head and pushed me underwater. So it's kind of always our running joke about that. But I say that to say you want to, one, show up. Number two, you want to do enough activity that you get into performance club. There's so few things that you can control in this company. Like I can't control what the team does. I can't control if somebody buys or not. But what I can control is enough activity that I personally do that I'm going to be able to get into performance club. And you can't be that bad in here. If you walk up to 100 people and say, you need to get your will done. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Are you overworked? Are you underpaid? You got teenage drivers who drive like a teenager. I mean, for real, someone's going to sign up. So, I'll never forget. And I had a friend of ours who is since retired. I'm not going to say her name. I don't want to get her into trouble, but she had one more membership left to go to hit executive director in a month. She's been qualifying for a long time. There's a big bonus on there. And I'll never forget, she went into a Denny's and yelled, I don't recommend this. Who needs access to an attorney at affordable rate? Come see me. I kid you not. Somebody came up and signed up and she got executive director again that month. Now, I don't recommend that. It's not a great way to do that. But listen, you can't be that bad that you can't show it to enough people that at least somebody's going to get started. So number one, show up. Number two, get in a performance club. That's the only thing you can control. And you want to lead by example. You've seen our PowerPoints, right? If you have 25 people in performance club, you're making $120,000 for breathing. Why wouldn't you do that? And then the last thing I'm going to leave you with, so right, consistency, showing up, doing enough activity that you get in performance club. The third thing is you teach people to do number one and number two. Like, I feel like that's a drop the mic, like, boom, that's it. Well, this is what I love to do is have an army of people when they're sleeping, like in the military, right? They have their hooah, 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 or whatever their little phrases are. You know, I just want to be able to like wake up an associate in the middle of the night on the team and just say, wake them up. And they're like this, we show up to everything. We get in performance club and we teach people to do number one and number two. And they go back to sleep. Like, that's really what I want them to know, because if you do that, everything else is going to work itself out. The events do all the work for you. Listen, how hard is Jim Tanner working right now? Certainly he got us here, but we're all working together. That's the other great thing about Legalshield is we all help each other. It's unbelievable. But how many people agree that that would do all the work for you? How many people wish they had more people here today? So it's showing up. It's getting into performance club, and it's you teaching an army of folks to do number one and number two. And of course, there's some leadership skills along there. There's, some invitation skills you're going to have to learn. There are some things that you're going to have to learn. Personal development certainly will help you, go over the highs and lows to get there. But imagine to be able to make a multiple six figures. We're almost working on our third million. To be able to make that kind of income, to really master three things, and two of them involve yourself, right? Showing up, you can control where you're going to be showing up. And number two, you can control how many people you show it to, and a ratio will appear so you know how many people you can show it to. And number three, teach people to number one and number two. My husband's an engineer. He makes about what I make. And here's the deal. He has to know way more things than I do, and we could have way more fun. So stay here until. I'm not an overnight success story, so it doesn't matter where you start. I mean, seriously, $500 a month. I wasn't setting the world on fire. I wasn't 400 grand in my first 2 years. But here's what I know is if you do these three things, you stick and stay, it will happen for you too. And that's what I love about it. I can look you right in the eye and say, here's the three things I did. If you do them too, success is imminent. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce to you a dear friend of mine. I mean, she is truly one of my sheroes. Right before this pandemic, she was supposed to come and do an event for us in San Jose. And of course, her husband was very ill. And so, it just didn't make sense to come at the last minute. But not only did we have to pivot, it was March 13th, which was Friday the 13th, isn't that a horrible date, that all of that poop hit the fan. But we pivoted, right? So you want me on your zombie apocalypse team, right? We didn't cry, we didn't crumble. We went straight to Zoom. We ended up with 250 people. We did the first Zoom ever big event. And, Elizabeth Gardner is such a solid, amazing, resilient human being. She did that event anyway, virtually. And what a blessing for us that we could do that. She's been able to be in the face of adversity multiple times, but most recently, the way that she's been able to handle the loss of her husband, I'm blown away. I've written her actually a love note. I don't know if you ever got that, Miss Gardner, but it was like a 20-page love note, just telling her how incredibly honored proud, thrilled I am as a human being to be able to be in her vortex. She has the most incredible integrity, ideas, and she's super well documented. I mean, hello, folks. She's a platinum executive director. She's a Circle of Champions. She's a senior network vice president of Ladies of Justice. Obviously, she's a Millionaire Club member many times over, but she's a $600,000 ring earner. And all I can say to you is I love you from the bottom of my heart. We have spent so much time together, brainstorming in a restaurant from, half naked on a beach, if you will. You mean the world to me, and seeing you now with your daughter, passing on that legacy, you're an inspiration. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you. I just love you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Kai. And what a blessing. Yeah, Kai and I show up in some interesting places. John and I had drove to Baltimore and walk in, and who's there? Kai Daring. I mean, it's like, so it's like we love to learn, and you are such an incredible leader. And just listening to you tonight, I just all the nuggets you're dropping. It's, you just laid out the path of how we create whatever life we want here, and that is what is so amazing. And so thank you, beautiful lady. I so appreciate you introducing me. And Jim Tanner, thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight. I'm just going to take a few minutes. As Kai said, I'm Elizabeth Gardner, South Carolina. Been with the company a little over 20 years. And what a blessing. What a blessing. When John and I got started, we owned our own business. He was an attorney. My background is in marketing. And we had just opened our 6th law office, 6th location. Thought we had a great plan, as many people do. Don't question what you're doing. You think, oh my gosh, I've got this. We're making great money. We were working nonstop. And I guess just didn't fast forward enough to know where that was going to lead. But somebody sent us a video, and it changed everything because we were open to looking at life differently, to looking at a different path forward. And what the blessing of this business, I truly believe, is just so different than most of what we get to do in the world. Most of what we get to do in the world, Kai talked about, she was selling insurance, and, her mom would undercut her for $20. I don't know if that's true, Kai, but I don't think so. Your mom was a phenomenal woman. But, we do live in a world where we think that, right? And John and I were able to serve a lot of people with our law firms. But what you don't get is the opportunity to build people, to grow people, to build these unbelievable bonds with people. Not that we didn't love every single person we worked with when we had a business, but it's different than locking arms with people to build our dream. Not them working for me to build my dream, but like it is in the business world. It's, I get to lock arms with Kai. I get to lock arms with the phenomenal leaders on my team. I get to lock arms. I mean, I was on a call earlier today with, just some incredible leaders in this company, all of us locking arms to build all of our dreams together. And I think that was what John and I saw. It was like, oh my gosh, not only can we create the income that we want, but it's going to be completely different because it's going to, it's going to have a leverage aspect. It's going to have a residual aspect. Sitting here today, and it's a little over a year. John died on November the 22nd of 2020. So we're literally right past that 1 year mark. And I think about how impactful that decision was that we made 20 years ago, and what my life would look like today. Now, certainly we financially did great, but I'm 53 years old. I'm not ready to retire and wander off into the sunset, right? And so had we not made that decision, I would be sitting here with what? A law practice where, the clients are looking to the attorneys, and most attorneys, think they're pretty hot stuff. You know, and y'all know that. And the ones that work for us were no different. And I just think, oh my gosh, I would be in a place of trying to run a business like that on my own, trying to make sure payroll was covered every other week, trying to make sure all that overhead was overwhelming over 20 years ago, much less I can't imagine what it would be today. And to know that I could be in that position versus the position I'm in now, where, you know, I'm in this amazing position of residual income. I'm in this amazing position of having built a team for 20 years and have this entire network of support. I mean, you know, when you listen to people like Kai Deering, yes, I mean, you should read the note that she wrote me. You know, it's like, who sends you notes like that? And so, you know, when you're here, yes, it is about consistency. Yes, it is about empowering families with our membership. But what it is truly about is embracing the possibility of your own future and believing in that possibility in advance. I mean, that is what we do here. And the people that hold on, who capture that vision and then hold it and execute on it, are the people who win. And, you know, because the beauty of when we got started, and I've always thought it was a fantastic thing, is I actually had to sign my name on a document. We don't do that anymore, right? We just go to a website, type stuff in, click submit, you're done. Well, when I got started with Legalshield, I had to sign my name on a document. And I remember the moment that I signed my name. And at that moment, I locked in this vision of what was possible for my future. And what we did was just wake up every day working as if that vision was going to come to fruition. And it's the people that struggle with that. It's the people that never lock that vision in. It's the people that somewhere along the line, because as Kai said, you show up for everything. It's the people who stop showing up. So therefore they lose that vision. They get distracted. They aren't consistent. They don't hear that next story that's going to inspire them to go talk to that next person, because that is the only difference here. That's the only difference here. You know, you're sitting here, you know, yes, Kai put all those accolades out there. Understand, I joined Legalshield as a 29-year-old. I mean, you know, it's like none of that was, you know, yes, did I have some business experience? Yes, I had business experience, but it didn't look anything like this, right? And so it's one of those where you're just, you know, can you work as if you know your vision's going to come to fruition? And then you're simply looking for the things that make that true. And I think, you know, in telling our story, it was so fantastic. And I moved my notes around. Shame on me, because I should certainly know her name. Miss Wan that spoke earlier. I can't remember her name. That has, you know, is the leader of our, many of our deaf associates, which is amazing. You know, I'll tell you, you and I made the exact same amount of money our first year in the business. You know, it's like, I think we made $67,000 our first year in the business. I think that's just, I think that's just fantastic. But that's it. It's like, you and I made the exact same amount of money. And it's so phenomenal that you just simply stay on that path, because what it is, okay, what do I need to do to get to the next level? And as long as you continue to ask that question, the person's going to show up to answer that question. Why is it that Kai Deering and I always end up in the same rooms? It's because we're seeking. We are seeking the answers to the question. You know, one of my favorite things is to go to an event where, you know, I know kind of I'm like, okay, I know what they're going to train. I've heard this before. And my question is, what's the nuance I'm missing? What's the nuance that I haven't quite mastered yet, that when I get it, it's going to change everything? And I've done that. And John did that throughout our entire career. It's, what do we have? Where are we going? And what tools do we need to get there? What is it that is that next thing that's missing? And so we're always looking for, okay, I need to master this three-way call thing. You hear three-way call, three-way call, three-way call, three-way call, and the types of three-way calls. And you're like, I have got to master this, and it's like, all right, I've got exposures. I've got to master that. Follow up. I've got to master that. What is mastering a follow-up call look like? And, just really going, somebody's got the answer to this. I just need to look for it. And, and just making those little 1% changes, staying in the game, staying focused enough, even if you're part-time, staying focused in your part-time to go, all right, I just need to make this little shift and that little shift and this little shift. Because, I came into this business, I wasn't in sales. Marketing is not sales, just FYI. Marketing is not sales. And so, it is that idea of, what is that one little shift? What I have found, there's a lot of people on my team that, we talk about that, there's three things. What do you have to be? You have to be willing, right? Willing. You have to be willing. You have to be coachable, and you have to be hungry. It means you have to have this unbelievable desire, right? You have to actually want it. Willing, coachable, hungry. And I think sometimes the mistake we make is we think that we can make other people those things, right? We think you can make someone hungry. You can make someone coachable. You can make someone willing, and you can't. See, that's when you look at every leader you have heard from tonight, we all have a unique story. We all have a very unique path. And we're all here coming to you from a different place. And so what we do have in common, though, is that we were willing to do this business. And to learn what it took to do this business. We were coachable, and not just once. I consistently, I would say, let's just so you guys can kind of put this in context. Now, obviously, GoPro was this past weekend, and I don't know, some of you may have attended, some of you may not. So let's just take GoPro out of the scenario. I would tell you, in the last week, I have probably reached out on 5 different occasions to people who I knew had answers that, I had not mastered yet, to get guidance on how to take my business to the next level. Just in the last week, I've been in this business 23 years. I've, in the first 5 years, we made our first $1 million. I've made $600,000, last year. I will see what I make this year. It's still there, but it's like, it is that consistency of going, I need this piece of information. Who has it? And going and getting it and bringing it back to my toolkit. I need this piece of information. Who has that? And going out and getting it. And so it's more the active role, I would say, for me, is not waiting for somebody to give me what I want or what they think I need, but it's actually me looking at what it takes to build this business, listening to how other people have built their business, and then going, okay, I need that skill. I need that tool. Right? Because your tools are your ability to communicate. Your tools are your ability to, prospect, your ability to follow up, maybe your follow-up system, maybe your, whatever, your calendaring system, whatever it is, those are all tools, but your skills are tools as well, right? And so I have to go evaluate what is it that I'm missing. And I can either do that through my self-awareness, or I can do it through asking others to go, what do you think I need to do better? And they will tell me. The people I reach out to tell me. Brene Brown calls it a square squad, right? And so, it's a 1 by 1 inch piece of paper that you write the people on that, that not only will they give you honest feedback, but it's helpful feedback. They will be honest with you. And so I have a little square squad, of course, of my friends and those people, but I also have that list of people for my business that say, listen, I not only trust this person and the judgment and the decisions that they make in this business and their leadership, but I trust that they will be open and honest with me to give me the right kind of feedback. And I'd say that has been just an absolute key. And then, as Kai said, just a willingness to not take my foot off the gas. And, that doesn't mean 24/7, 365, but in this business, I happen to be full-time. It looks like full-time. And especially when you want to grow your business, it definitely looks like full-time. And it's one of those where it's like, hey, I want to, if I want to take my business, Kai Deering and I are, in it, I won't say what the goal is because I don't have her permission, but it's like she and I are laser locked on a huge goal that we have. And so it's like one of those where it's like, when you're in that laser locked growth mode, it's like, listen, I've got to give this business everything I've got. If I was willing to put in 80 and 90 hours a week in a business that was literally just a bigger treadmill, right? Just a bigger treadmill. Why am I not willing to put in 40 hours a week with Legalshield that can give me not only the financial freedom I have now, but the financial freedom I can have even at a different level in the future? But it all comes back to that raw belief that when I sign my name on that associate agreement, I saw the possibility of what my future could look like, the possibility of how my future would be different than maybe I had thought it was even 24 hours before watching that video and signing that piece of paper, and then acting on that until it came to fruition. And so, the clarity, we're at the perfect time of year. We're at the absolute perfect time of year heading into this next couple of weeks, right? You're heading out to the close of 2021, heading into the launch of 2022. Now is the perfect time to build those new skills, to build those new habits, to lay that foundation over the next, what is it? It's December the 7th. So how many days do we have now? 23. I don't know. I'm bad at math on the cusp here. So what do we have? 23 days left this year. So what about laying the foundation in the next 23 days that will change your 2022 forever? And by changing your 2022, you change your entire future. But we start today. James Clear, in his book, Atomic Habits, he talks about you cast votes. You cast votes for the person that you want to be. You cast votes for, if you want to be that healthy person, then every time you choose your meal, you're casting a vote for that healthy person. Every time you say, hey, I want to be a ring earner in Legalshield, I want to provide for my family, the financial stability, the financial freedom, the whatever it is, Camellia, building an orphanage. It does, it's like, yes, it's money, but it's not about the money. We know that. It's about what the money will do. And you have to decide what the money can do. Because then you'll cast better votes every single day. You'll cast better votes towards that goal, towards that vision, towards that future you that just needs you to act and believe long enough for it to become a reality. And so our, in Ladies of Justice, it is, we're going through this, our theme last month was empower me, empower you. And what that means is, it really is, I think, the entire concept of Legalshield and what we do as a community. And what it is by empowering myself, by empowering, by other people empowering me to do what we do, we in fact are turning the tables to empower others. And it's this beautiful circle that we get to create where we really are pouring into each other's lives to make that happen. And so that is, this month it happens to be wrapped up in winning at life, because we're all wrapped up in winning. And yes, it's winning at Legalshield, but winning at Legalshield means winning at life, because that's what we get to do. We empower people with our membership. If we're doing it right, we have a life, we have success, we have a community, we have leaders, we have followers, we have connection, we have relationships, and that is truly what you see when you peel back everything else and kind of peek behind the curtain. That is truly what we are, deep down in our soul. And that's worth getting up every day to invite the next person into. And so that's what we get to remember when we're out sharing Legalshield with other people. We get to remember that that's what we're offering them, the opportunity to do, the opportunity to truly have a life of value filled with some amazing people who will only work with them to make it better. So Mr. Tanner, that is all I have for you. Jim Tanner, thank you so much for having me with you. It is, you and your beautiful wife are, just two of my favorite people. We had a fantastic time in Iceland together, and a few other trips we've had, but that was the most memorable one that we got to spend the most time together. But thank you so much for putting on this amazing event and allowing me and all of these other amazing speakers to participate and share our stories. And I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gardner. It's been an absolute honor to have you with us. And you're one of the few people on the planet Earth that I've stood underneath the northern lights with. I'm grateful that we've had that experience, even though it was very cold. Thank you again.
It was very cold, but it was absolutely beautiful.
And I'll just say that the life-changing moments that come from your Legalshield business will not be apparent to you as you take the next step forward. When I got started in this business, I just wanted to make some extra money. I didn't know that I was getting a transformative life experience. Many of you have heard me say, and I'm just going to wrap up, I'm so appreciative for all of our speakers. And I would love for you in the chat while you're listening to me to share your gratitude that I know you have for them. And I'll leave the chat open for another couple of minutes after we say goodnight so that you can share that. They'll see this. And I want them to know how much you mean, how much they mean to you, and how much this means to you. You've heard me say, many of you, that I don't recognize the 28-year-old boy that signed his associate agreement. And I think that's my lesson in conclusion tonight is let Legalshield change you. I've been changed by the books I've read and the events I've attended. But the grandest change, the most influential shift over and over in my thinking and perspective and the potential that I could have for a new future came from the associates, the entrepreneurs, the legends that took a moment, or sometimes an hour, or in some cases months and years, to pour into the people like me that were so hungry to learn. In constructing this event for this evening, my goal was to share with you the people that influenced me, some that I've only met in the last few years and some that I have been following and been coached by for my entire career. And I want to leave you with the thought that while you have been inspired and had your vision expanded by the speakers this evening, that although their stories are incredibly important to our journey at Legalshield, the most important story is the one you're crafting on your Legalshield journey. We need that story next. We need you to take your place on this stage, your voice to be heard, your story to be told, so that you can be the inspiration for the next generation. This business may have started with an accident with our founder, Harlan Stonecipher. It may have launched from an accident, but it is no accident what we are today. It's not luck, it's destiny. Because this is a company and a business that is necessary and needed and does noble, important work. And that work is done through each and every one of you. That work is done because you are showing up. That work is being accomplished because of your belief and your effort. Truth is, there's not enough of us to do the work as fast as it needs to be done. Today, people are shouting, going into the streets, demanding justice. Don't ever forget that we have this access to justice that most people have no idea exists. People are clamoring for opportunity, equality in that opportunity, because doors have been shut for too long, for too many. But this is a business that doesn't ask where you came from or where you went to school. They only ask if you're willing to engage in the mission. And if that's a yes, you're coachable, you have a burning desire to succeed, you're willing to do this work, then you are embraced with open arms. And the mentors stand ready to teach you everything they learned along the way, to make your journey easier, faster, to make your path smoother. That's what we're a part of. That, when we offer this opportunity, the invitation to learn about Legalshield, that these people that you heard from this evening, those are the individuals, the collective unit, the mastermind that stands ready to support everyone that you introduce to this business. You may be in business for yourself, but I hope it's clear to you as we conclude tonight that you are not in business by yourself. Thanks again to every speaker, to Jo Welch for her technology support so that we could make this happen glitch-free. And thanks to all of you for dedicating a couple of hours of your evening to set your intentions to make a massive and radical change for your future and your legacy and all the people you touch. My name is Jim Tanner. I am an agent of change, and I am the Lighthouse, and I hope you are too. Good night, everybody.